Hey, 8th grade. Think we done enough shaking, rattling, and rolling for now. All right, well, we're going to go back and we're going to do some more of this volume because I'm not really satisfied with the way a lot of you are not doing that well with it. So we're going to begin with this question that says relating the volumes of a cylinder and a cone. So here we have the same bases and we have the same heights. So it's giving us the base area. So pi times r squared, right, equals 11 feet. So that's the area of the base. If we want to find the volume, we multiply that times the height, right? So they already told us what pi r squared is. It's 11. So we're going to multiply that times the height. And for the volume of the cylinder, we get 6 times 11 feet cubed, which is 66 feet cubed, cubic feet. We come over here, pi r squared h. Ah, but no, that's the cone. This has got a fraction in it. Remember, the pointy thing is a 1/3. If it was a pyramid, it would be times 1/3 of what the rectangular prism is. That 1/3 is like the magic number. So we've got to do 1/3 times pi r squared times h to find the volume of this cone, to find the volume of it, okay? Now they told us what pi r squared is. Pi r squared is 11 feet squared, 11 square feet. They told us what h is, and we have to do times 1/3. So 1/3 of 66. The volume here is 22 feet cubed. Now part C says the volume of the cylinder equals blank times the volume of the cube, or pardon me, of the cone. The volume of this equals something times the volume of this. Well, since this is 1/3 the size of this, this must be 3 times the size of that. So it's 3 times that. Look, the volume of this equals 3 times the volume of this, right? 3 times 1/3 is 1. Okay, so important to understand how to go backwards and forwards with that question. 66, 22, and 3. That question tripped you up, a lot of you, on the test, on the quiz that you had. So we would do, oh, it's not going to let me answer. This equation is true for all cylinders and cones. Yes, absolutely it is. The volume of the cylinder always is going to equal 3 times the volume of the cone that has the same base and the same height. Okay? Let me put something else up here for you. Okay, so what I had hoped is that, you know, when I teach this in class, I get this through to students. But being as you're not here, and most of you aren't watching the video because you think, oh, I'll just do it, I'm not getting it through to you with the basics of this, okay? You start out with a circle. See, that's the base. It's flat. It's a circle, okay? The circle has an area of pi r squared. If you memorize this formula, right, then this one is easy. There's nothing to it, because all you're doing is multiplying the base area here times the height. Boom. So the volume, how much fits inside. This doesn't have a volume, it's a flat thing. Okay? How much fits inside is pi r squared, the area of the base, times the height. Then in the middle of these two, we had this one, the pointy one. Here, I'm going to draw it. I'm going to draw it right here. It's less than this. You see how I had to cut these pieces off to make this pointy instead of rounded? Okay? The magic fraction for the cone, the magic fraction is it's 1/3 of this size. It's 1/3 of the cylinder. Look, if I put that cone inside the cylinder, all this space just became dead. This one is 1/3 of what this one is. 1/3 pi r squared h. And this one doesn't have a height. Well, it does, but the height's the same as the radius, because it is a radius. So we don't have a height in the formula. This one says simply, first of all, it's the bigger one, so it's 2/3. 2/3 pi r squared h, except r is h, so it's r squared times r, which is r to the third. Okay, so you have these three formulas. You have one for the, well, four actually, if you count the area of the circle. But you have one for the volume of the cone. It's just the area of the circular base times the height. Then you have this pointy cone here that's a lot smaller than this. And it's 1/3 of what that was. So it's 1/3 times pi r squared h. And then you have this rounded hemisphere, right? And it's 2/3 of what that is. But the height is a radius, so you don't need to write a height, you just write another radius. See, here's the height. Here's the height, and since it's circular, it's just the same as the radius. So, now a sphere is like two hemispheres put together. So instead of being 2/3 pi r squared h, it's going to be 2 times 2/3, or 4/3 pi r squared h. Now, you're really cheating yourself out of learning if you haven't done this. Volume equals 4/3 pi r to the third power. If you haven't done that, and you haven't memorized that formula yet, you're going to be wondering which formula works on which problem forever. Write the formula down. It's really easier that way. And then put the information in it. Volume equals 4/3 times pi times 5 to the third power. 5 to the third power is 125. Volume equals 125 times 4 divided by 3. See, I'm multiplying these two pieces. Pi. Volume equals 4 times 125 is 500 over 3 times pi meters to the third power. Now if I want to put in 3.14 instead of pi, then I do that, and I do it in my calculator. But I don't forget, this is meters, so it's meters to the third power. But, you know, you got to write the formulas down on the problems. Let's get to some, there's a bunch of different things going on. Okay, here's a cylinder. So I write my formula. Volume equals pi r squared h. How do I know that? Because I've been writing it over and over for a lot of years. Practice makes permanent. So volume equals pi times 14 squared times 24. Put it in your calculator. Okay? And then find a cone with radius of 3 and height of 10. A cone. Radius of 3. Height of 10. Volume equals, cone, pointy one, 1/3 pi r squared h. Put in the information, 1/3 pi times 3 squared times 10. Put it in your calculator. And remember that this is feet cubed. A glass tree ornament is a gold sphere. Again, you could have paused that if you wanted to think about it and put it in your and figure out an answer. You could have paused that before looking at this. You can take the think time. I'm going fast, so I make a short video for you. You can take the think time with your pause button and your rewind button. A gold sphere. Diameter is 4 inches. So how much is the radius? If the diameter is 4 inches, the radius is 2 inches. So the volume equals 2 hemispheres, 2 times 2/3, 4/3, pi r to the third. So the volume equals 4/3 times pi times 2 to the third power. Okay, put it in your calculator. Remember, this is inches, so this is inches cubed, or cubic inches. Now here is where you really needed to be writing your formulas. So the volume of a regular can of soda pop. Soda pop. What's a can of soda pop? What shape is that? Yep, it's a cylinder. Okay. So what formula is that? Volume equals pi r squared h. They tell you the volume and the height in this question. Find the diameter of the can. So if we aren't writing our formulas down, this is going to be very, very difficult. But if we're writing our formulas, we just come underneath. It says the volume is that much, 23.7. 23.7. I put it right under where volume is, times pi. And the height is 4.83. So I don't know the radius. So I'm going to solve this for the radius. Now, I can take that formula and solve it before I do this problem. That makes it easier. If I take this formula, I'm just going to do it up here. V equals pi r squared h. And I know I've got to find r for this question. I know it says diameter. Diameter is 2 times the radius, right? So if I know the radius, I know the diameter. So if I take the formula and I solve it and I get it to say r equals, then I can put my numbers into that new formula and get the answer. Like, how would I do that, you're saying? Well, how about if I divided both sides by pi h? Pi cancels pi, h cancels h. Now I have r squared on this side. R squared not my lucky day. R squared equals V over pi h. Mr. D, that's scary. Oh, give me a break. All we did is divide by these two things that we're multiplying. There's no numbers. You don't even have to figure out what it is. Now we got to take the square root of both sides so that we get r. R equals the square root of v over pi times h. Well, duh. Now we put the numbers in to our calculator. Into our calculator. R equals the square root of v over pi h. V, H. So R equals the square root of 23.7 over pi times 4.83. Put it in your calculator, press equals. Don't make me do everything. This is the calculator with the dead battery. Okay, so you do it. You get an answer. Make sure the whole thing is in the square root. Make sure you put, maybe you need parentheses to make sure the whole thing is in the square root. But you can do it. You can look at the screen before you press equals and make sure that this whole thing is under the square root sign. Okay? Here's one where they give you the volume of a cone. And they want you to find the missing height. You're going to do it the same way. You're going to take the formula for volume. The volume of a cone equals 1/3 pi r squared h. And if you're trying to find the height, you have to solve this equation for h. Get h to be alone. So first step I'm going to do is I'm going to times both sides by 3. Because 3 times 1/3 cancels. So now I have 3v equals pi r squared h. And now one step to get h to be alone is to divide both sides by pi r squared. Pi r squared. That cancels that. Now h is all by itself. I'm going to put it on this side. H equals 3 times v over pi r squared. Now I have a new formula that will tell me the height when I put these other numbers into it. Anyway, thank you. Good luck.